3. So we got the movie Escape Room 2019, but wait, this movie didn't come out this year. That's right, we are doing a brand new segment on this channel, Blast from the Past. This is a segment where we talk about movies that I saw in theaters years ago, but I couldn't because I wasn't really focusing on YouTube back then. So yes, we are talking about Escape Room that came out in 2019 in January. Let's be honest, the movies that have been releasing so far in the theaters kind of suck, and I really don't want to spend my time with them. They aren't that good. So this gives me and us a chance to talk about movies that we saw previous years, but we couldn't back then. And I don't know, I was in a dark place back then. I was partying too much, smoking too much, drinking too much, being inside the wrong people. I wasn't grinding on YouTube like that, but now we are here and we are keeping it consistent. So for example, we're in the month of January, cold, wintry stuff, right? And guess what? Escape Room came out in January. I think January 4th or 5th to be exact. So that is the way we're going to structure this ongoing segment. Don't worry, I'm not going to do this every week, just on some weeks where the movies are slow or they really suck, especially when like dry weeks or dry Januaries are really hitting home. But please subscribe for future content because we will get out of this slow season. Next week, we have Return to Silent Hill. Oh my god, scary because I played the game. And we also have Mercy, so definitely great movies. So please consider subscribing and turning on notifications so you never miss a video. That would help us a lot to make more content for you guys. Full disclaimer, I did do a review of Tournament of Champions Escape Room, which came out in 2021, but I wanted to review the original one because it just has a soft space for my heart, and we'll talk about it why. So we have the movie Escape Room 2019 is a horror sci-fi puzzle movie that was released in the beginning of the year and the beginning of the month in 2019. The premise is simple. We have a group of strangers, very likable and attractive, that synergize and works well together, that blends seamlessly to solve puzzles to try to win $1,000. I have to say this cast is not A-list tier, but no shade on them. Even though they're not like the top tier dogs, they're still definitely B-list, but they're interesting and amazing, and they quickly find out that money is secondary to the overall task of escaping these escape rooms. So the gist of the movie is this. Something is trying to kill them, maybe someone or somehow, while giving them a chance to escape. Will they be able to survive? Will they find all the clues? And does this movie still hold up today? Find out as we talk about it. The context, 2019 and now. To give you some perspective, in 2019, I was just graduating my associate's degree and going on to NIU for my psychology degree because I wanted to become a marriage counselor. I remember the hype for this movie was interesting because this was the time of the year for the rest of my life. Even until now, I stopped watching trailers. However, I still had Instagram and people were hyping this movie up to the non, right? It was crazy, especially the ice room scene, which is the third room in the movie. People were saying in the comments, this is going to be hype, this is going to be scary, this is going to be cool. And honestly, even though it didn't get perfect reviews on Rotten Tomatoes, that's beside the point. I absolutely found a lot to be enjoyed with it, and they actually made a sequel, so it made a ton of money. And yeah, it was definitely insane in terms of the marketing material because I barely knew anything. Like I told you, this is when I stopped watching trailers. But watching it on Instagram, especially the ice room scene come to life, especially in the cinemas, was, I don't want to say breathtaking because that's too much, but it was definitely interesting, especially if you watch the rest of the movie play out. Setting the scene, Chicago and the players. This movie takes place in Chicago, which is amazing because I live in the northwest suburbs of Chicago. It's brilliant because seeing the lakefront in our neighboring hood in the city spectacle was surreal. It's just cool to see your neighboring city, especially in a movie that you really love. So the setting is around Thanksgiving because some of the people like have a happy Thanksgiving break, right? But we follow three main characters in the beginning of the movie. Zoe, played by Taylor Russell, she is the main protagonist. She is also in the sequel, hint hint. She is a college student trying to break out of her shell after receiving a puzzle from her professor saying, do something that scares you over this break. And she's timid, she's shy, but she's very smart. Ben Miller, played by Logan Miller, LRL, same last name, he works at a grocery store, trying to unwind and make better decisions since his life because he has a dog past that we'll find to uncover later on. Jason Walker, played by Jay Ellis, he's a good-looking man, no homo by the way, no homo. He's in the fancy suits, he works in stocks or finance or whatever. He's living the high life and he drives a motorcycle and he of course encounters this box. They all solve the puzzle of the box to even get into the escape room, so great marketing material there. That is when we get the ticket to Mino's escape room, and Mino's escape room, that title or that name, organization will come prevalent later on. They're in the waiting room, right? They're in the first room, right? Some girl in the desk, she's like, please have a seat. Someone will be with you shortly. That, right? And then we meet the rest of the cast. Amanda Harper, played by Deborah Ann Wool, who is a veteran that served in Afghanistan, and she's absolutely sexy and drowning in beautiful perfection, by the way. way. We also have a truck driver named Mike who is super inclusive and has the best amount of teamwork probably, and a nerdy guy who is Danny, who is Clan, who has 90 rooms. That's crazy, 90 rooms. I mean, you could do that if you go to an escape room every single weekend like I do, you know. Psychology and the plot. Now that you know the plot and the characters, is it any good? And honestly, that really depends on the individual. For me, I found it to be brilliant, and here's why. The movie's more psychological than you would think. As we progress, we see hints, nods, and call-outs to the character's past. You gotta remember, I went into this movie blind. I only saw like 5 seconds of the marketing material back then. Remember, I was so focused on studies and schools and being a bad person, you know, being a bad boy, whatever, you know. But when you see these people pick up mugs or newspapers carefully laid out on the desk talking about people who burned in the fire, you feel the weight. You feel that these characters have unresolved trauma, that they're specific chosen for a reason that you'll find out later. This hits home to me because I went to school for that, for a psychology degree that I literally dropped out to pursue YouTube as my full career because I was listening to society's expectations, whatever, right? So I understand the psychological twist that the game is trying to portray to us, the audience. They carefully crafted these rooms to specific fears of the people that are chosen to play in this game. Amanda, she sees a newspaper of people about dying in a burning building, connected to her time in war. Zoe picks up a mug about planes. You feel the weight of a crash as it weighs on her, dawns on her. Jason, he looks at the snow globe of a ship, feeling the cold of his survival. It's not just about surviving this room, it's personal. It's hitting on a core fundamental of an emotional fear that they have buried deep down inside. Teamwork and anime convention. I've always loved movies where strangers, especially attractive ones, try to work together to solve problems. That's why I really like the Avengers, Sword Art Online, you name it, right? But for me, there are multiple quotes that I want to share with you. One of them is from my all-time favorite anime. I mean, you can literally look at the background right now, Sword Art Online. Kirito says there are limits to what a solo player can do, and that's ultimately true because Kirito, yeah, he levels up in the anime, but then he joins the guild to try to defeat the bosses to get out of the game. In the light novels that I've been listening to on audiobook, Asuna says this is a game, but it's not one you play. Let that sink in for a second. This is a game, but it's not one you play. And exactly like here in Escape Room. Even in another anime, Solo Leveling, which is amazing by the way, Geno Sung summons a shadow army. You cannot do this alone. He solo levels for the first season, but then in the second season, he shadowed up army. He has like people at his disposal. So yeah, I guess he's still kind of solo leveling, but he has teammates to do that. We move right along to the room breakdown deep dive. I've watched this movie multiple times throughout the years, and I feel like multiple rooms are segmented towards each other person that are there. First, we have the fire room, the waiting room. It was clearly targeted towards Amanda Harper, triggering her PTSD because of the burning in her back. The cabin, I thought this was for the truck driver because it felt akin to his aesthetics, being on the mountains with the reindeer and stuff, right? The ice room, this one was the marketing material really banked on. This was for Jason since he hated the cold and survived a freezing shipwreck. This is also in the point of the movie where he says, have you ever got hypothermia? You get disoriented and confused. And so you know that this room was specifically because he lashed out in this scene. I was like, oh my god, that's amazing. There's an upside down room, which is in the background when they're trying to get out, is the downtown, which is like downtown, and then the floor breaks, which is crazy. But later on, we found out it was targeted towards Zoe, mimicking her plane crash that she was a sole survivor in. The poison gas room, right? This took me a while because in the beginning it wasn't really out there. Targeted towards the guy with Danny, the glasses, the guy who did 90 escape rooms because he was a sole survivor of a carbon monoxide leak. The psychedelic room. Once you keep progressing in the movie, there's a psychedelic room where things move. It's like trippy. There's flashing lights, which is scary. I can't really pinpoint if this was for Ben. The reason why I thought is because he has a history with drug abuse and drinking. So it was specific to like messing up his mind and people who were there if they actually made it that far. No spoilers here. I mean, the chilling realization. Sorry if I not said that right. The premise is simple. Every room increases the chances of them dying. I won't spoil who gets killed, of course, but they have to pan out, search for the clues. Whether it's too hot, too cold, upside down, every room has a legal threat. Whether that be psychological, physical, like the cold room, or maybe teamwork is at play. The second one felt safe, maybe then giving them a false sense of hope. But here's another quote from the movie itself. And Ben, he says, they made these rooms for us. And then Jason replies, they knew everything about us. That's why I'm saying, when you keep watching the movie, it's so much more psychological. It's kind of scary to really think about it. It's not horror in terms of demonic, which is my personal fear, you know, hellish stuff. But it's like, they targeted their specific fears. That's crazy. That's like psychological to the max, but in the dark side way. You know, dark side way, once you think about that, you know that they weren't just targeted to survive. It was much more deeper than that. It gives them a chance to free from them trauma, also face their trauma and see if they're overcoming by it. The verdict and the grade. At the end of the day, I'm gonna give this a grade A. I think this is an amazing movie for a particular type of crowd. In 2019, if I was doing YouTube back then, right, because I was still going to movies like I am now, this movie would have been in my top 10 best of the years for 2019. But I was a different person back then, so that's why I'm talking about it now. If you made it this far, I really appreciate it so much. Maybe consider hitting that subscribe button and turning on notifications so you never miss a video. And with that, the first segment new on this channel for 2026 and hopefully beyond, Blast from the Past segment is complete. Thank you, and we'll talk. Bye.